Alright, what up guys? Today we're playing some Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Now I previously made a longer format video of how to play Morrowind for beginners or Skyrim players, whatever. And I thought that it would be a nice idea to create a whole series based on how to play Morrowind for beginners or whatever. So that basically anybody who wants to learn the game or learn how to play the game or kind of learn the nuances and stuff behind the game has something that they can like directly follow along to that goes much more in depth than that video. Because that video does go pretty well in depth, but it only goes about as in depth as a 30-minute video can go into like how to play a video game. And quite honestly, there's just way more to tackle than that 30-minute video could tackle. So I think this will be a really good opportunity for people who never gave the game a chance to give it a fair chance and to, like, you know, maybe actually enjoy themselves and not struggle too hard with it, right? So anyways, that's the premise of the series. We're just going to be doing a how to play Morrowind series, basically. Now, before we jump into it, I do want to address the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that if it is your first time playing this game, it's probably going to look something a little more like this instead of what it's looking like now. Now, I don't normally suggest or recommend mods for most games. Not that I have anything against mods, it's just that, like, I tend to, like, not necessarily prefer the vanilla content, but I tend to be, like, more or less satisfied with the vanilla content that games have to offer 99% of the time. But with that being said, one mod that I do absolutely recommend is some sort of graphical mod to give you the ability of widescreen, because being able to play the game in widescreen will definitely make it a much more enjoyable experience. It'll kind of immerse you in the game a little bit more. It's just overall worth it to have the widescreen. Like, if I was going to recommend any mod, it would be some sort of widescreen mod for this game. And there's at least 2 different graphical mods you can download that'll give you widescreen capabilities. Doesn't really matter which one you use. I forget which one I use, but it's the only mod I use. I downloaded it once, never had to worry about it again. So anyways, just basically get yourself a widescreen mod. You won't really regret that. And with that being said, I think we should just jump into it, because why not, right? What is our name? That's a good question. Entire melon. You'll only get that if you watch my last series. So anyways, for this build, we're not really going to be doing any sort of like specialized build. We're not going to be doing anything too crazy in this series. We're just going to be kind of like playing the game normally, whatever normal can really be considered in Morrowind. But basically, I'm not really trying to get too fancy with this. I'm just really trying to get down to like the brass tacks of how this game is played, and just kind of like general tips and tricks and metas of the game that will really help new players. Oh, and the other thing with the graphical mods is that, yeah, they will give you like extended render distance. They'll give you all sorts of like, you know, water texture or reflections and stuff like that. That stuff is cool too, but like the main thing really is the widescreen. But again, that stuff is really nice, because one thing you will notice with the vanilla game is that you can see about 20 feet in front of you. Like, I wouldn't be able to see those guys without the graphical mod. They would just be fogged out. I wouldn't be able to see them. Anyways, though, just kind of wanted to mention that. But here we are. This is the character creation area here, or this is at least where the character creation starts. There's, I guess, a couple steps to the character creation process, but this is where you're going to choose your race. This is where things are going to get a little bit more intricate here. Now, with Skyrim, there are some differences between the races, but they're not quite as stark as the differences in Morrowind, and I think Oblivion too. Because in Skyrim, the differences between the races are so minimal that they don't even really tell you what the differences are. But with that being said, again, the differences between the races in Morrowind are pretty stark. They're very large differences. One of the main things about the races in Skyrim is that the beast races, your Argonians and your Khajiits, will not be able to wear full face helmets. They can still wear medium helmets, so like what this guard is wearing right now, that doesn't count as a full face helmet. You can still see the front of his face. That's like a medium helmet type of deal, right? But Khajiits and Argonians cannot wear the full face varieties of helmets. They just can't because of their facial features. They have tall ears and this, that, and the other. The beast races are actually treated as beast races in Morrowind, whereas in, I think, Oblivion even, but in Oblivion and Skyrim, they're just treated as normal humanoid races. Like, you can wear anything that any other person can wear. Like, oh, and then the other thing, so not only just the helmets, but the shoes too. They can't actually wear shoes. I don't know if there's any special type of shoes they can wear. Like, if they could wear, like, sandals or something. I don't even think they can do that. I think they just always have to be barefoot. But yeah, in Skyrim and Oblivion, your Argonians and your Khajiits can wear boots. They can wear helmets. It doesn't matter. In Morrowind, it does matter. You cannot wear boots and you cannot wear full face helmets if you choose a Khajiit or an Argonian. So that's something to keep in mind. Aside from that though, the differences are mainly going to be skill based. So like you're going to have your more, you know, magic oriented races. So like I think Argonian even is kind of it's like a stealth magic almost, I believe. And then obviously your Bretons are magic. They're more of like a restoration type magic, I believe. Your High Elves are magic. And I think that's it for magic, really. And then your Dark Elves are also kind of magic. The Dark Elves are going to be like basically your jack of all trades. If it is your first time playing the game, I definitely recommend choosing Dark Elf, because it is going to be the most malleable race of all the races. Like if you are just kind of unsure of how to play the game, or how you're going to end up playing the game, or how you want to play the game, or whatever, choose a Dark Elf, because it's not going to matter what you really do in game, because a Dark Elf is going to kind of support it all. If you're looking for more of like a melee build and you're pretty sure that you're not going to be using archery, you're not going to be using magic, your combat oriented races are going to be like your Nord, your Orc, and your Redguard. Redguard is really nice. It gives you a 15 bonus to Longblade, which is one of the biggest bonuses I think you get, period. Yeah, Khajiit gives you 15 to acrobatics. Not very many races give you a 15 bonus to anything though. So Redguard is a really good one just as far as like the bonuses you get. If you are doing a, you know, like a warrior build, a melee build, Redguard is a solid option. If you're going for something more like Berserker-like, you got your Nord and your Orc, which are also really good melee options. It's been a while since I've played an Orc build, but it seems like the Orcs get knocked down the most. I don't really know what the deal is with that, but it seems like they get knocked down more than any other race. No clue what the deal is with that, but that's just kind of something that I've noticed playing the game over time. And then finally, you have like your more stealth builds. Really, Wood Elf is kind of the only good one. You have your 15 bonus to Marksman, which is huge, and then you have like some acrobatics and no athletics, which is interesting. And then of course Khajiit is also another good one if you're doing like kind of like more of a stealth build. And again, technically Argonians. Oh, and then Imperials is another like more melee based one, by the way. Forgot about that guy. So anyways, those are gonna be your races and kind of the differences between them. I'm gonna be choosing Dark Elf because once again, if you're a beginner playing this game for the first time, a Dark Elf is going to be your best bet. You won't go wrong with like Redguard or something if you're like certain that you're not going to be using magic or archery or anything and you just straight up want a melee build. You definitely can't go wrong with like Redguard. But I would just choose Dark Elf because you're going to be able to do the most things with the Dark Elf build, at least like easily, you know? So anyways, now that we spent like 5 or 10 minutes on character creation. Oh, another thing that they don't actually tell you within the character creation screen, which is interesting that they don't tell you, but females have lower stats than the males in a lot of cases. And I think the female High Elves are taller than the male High Elves, which also brings me to another point, which is that much like in Skyrim and Oblivion, your height is directly tied to your speed, like your walking speed or whatever, right? And your jump height for that matter. Even though there is the speed and athletic skills in Morrowind and Oblivion that make your run speed faster, your overall speed is still going to be dictated by your player's height. So if you are a Wood Elf, you are going to be the slowest character in the game. And if you are a High Elf, you are going to be the fastest character in the game. I mean, like, if everything else is the same level, like your speed and your athletics, High Elves are going to be the fastest, Wood Elves are going to be the slowest, and everybody else is going to be somewhere in between. But it's definitely worth keeping in mind if your running speed is important to you. But it's also another good tip for Skyrim. If you want to run fast in Skyrim, choose a High Elf. So anyways, like I said, we're doing Dark Elf. That's just the first part of the character creation journey here. We just chose the race, and now we get to choose our skills and attributes. And our sign, our birth sign. You gonna say it? Oh, yes.
Yes, we've been expecting you. You'll have to be recorded before you're officially released. There are a few ways we can do this, and the choice is yours.
All right, now for the skill or class creation segment, you are given 3 options. The first 2 are honestly, in my opinion, completely useless. Oh, actually, no, the middle one's not bad either. So if you're too lazy to create your own class, you can just pick a class from the list, which is actually not a bad option. I kind of forgot that was one of the options, but definitely don't choose the first one. It's kind of fun and quirky, I guess, to play with, but you're never going to get what you want. It's probably the dumbest way to choose a class for any type of video game. There's a very, very good reason why most games don't use this type of class selection anymore. Like, I'm pretty sure that's like some Dungeons and Dragons style shit where it's like you answer questions like, oh, if you saw a thief stealing from a little girl, how would you react? Would you kill the thief? Would you help the, like, stupid shit like I hate those. They're so fucking stupid. It seems like it doesn't even matter how you answer them. It's just like, okay, that's not a class I want. That was stupid and pointless. What I usually recommend is to fill the forms out yourself because it's really not that complicated. And using the classes from the list, you're probably going to end up with a build that isn't quite exactly what you want. So I usually fill out the forms myself, and I honestly recommend that, even though it might look a little complicated. It doesn't even look that complicated, to be completely honest. So anyways, here's where you choose like your character specialization and all that. So obviously you're going to have a choice between combat, magic, and stealth. I'm thinking for this one we're going to do a combat build. And I don't know, for most games I kind of recommend a combat build for anybody who isn't like well versed in the game. Like, you know, swords, shields, and armor is always going to be a pretty easy combination to figure out. So especially if you're new to a game, you might as well just do combat. But you know, you'd probably be able to get by with any of these specializations. Magic is going to get kind of complicated. If you want like some in-depth magic help, I do have a magic build guide that went on for like over a year. So yeah, that one goes pretty in-depth into using magic within Morrowind. So if you want to check that out, that's a thing. Stealth, you honestly can't really go wrong with stealth. I'd say if you were going to choose anything, choose combat or stealth. Stealth is a pretty good one with archery and all that. But combat's probably going to be the easiest. Now, as far as favorite attributes go, you basically get to choose 2 attributes that'll get a slight bonus. I think you get like a 10 or 15 bonus to these. I don't remember exactly how much. What you choose here is probably going to depend at least a little bit on your build, but I have ones that I usually choose regardless of my build, which are strength, speed, and endurance. Speed, you can kind of decide how important that is to you. I mean, speed can always be made up later on in the game. It's just you start out so slow in this game that I usually just get rid of that problem right off the bat, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna be putting speed here. Strength is a good one. You get carrying capacity, you get you know, the strength behind your attacks and all that stuff, so that's obviously a good one as well. And then endurance is a really good one that's also really important, because not only does it affect your maximum starting health, but it affects the amount of health that you gain per level. So the amount of health you gain per level, I forget exactly how it works, but it's some factor of like the level your endurance is or whatever. But basically, the higher you get endurance, the earlier on in the game, the more maximum health that will be possible, you know, just in general for every level that you gain. So endurance is a really smart and important one to get not only as high as you can early on, but to max out early on. Like, endurance should always be like the first attribute that you max out, pretty much regardless of your build. But I usually choose endurance as a favorite attribute for that reason. And then for the second attribute, I'll usually end up choosing strength or speed, kind of depending on what I want to do. I'm kind of thinking for this one I might start with strength. Now this is where Morrowind differs from both Oblivion and Skyrim. If you've played Oblivion, Oblivion had major skills and minor skills, where the major skills were like your main skills, where if you level up those skills, you will get character progression, like character level progression, right? In Oblivion, if you raise 10 major skills, you would gain 1 character level, right? And then the minor skills are just kind of like the random skills, like you could raise them, but they're not going to affect your character level, whatever. And then of course in Skyrim, you don't even have major or minor skills, you just have fucking skills. So I mean, it's completely different from Skyrim. But the way it differs from Oblivion is that in Morrowind you have major skills, you have minor skills, and you have miscellaneous skills. Now the miscellaneous skills are going to be the equivalent of the minor skills in Oblivion. So basically they don't do anything. Skills will start out at the lowest level. Raising your miscellaneous skills will not progress your character level. Whereas the major skills and the minor skills both will not only level up your character level progression or whatever, but they both actually receive bonuses from the beginning of the game. So I believe your major skills will get like a +10 bonus and your minor skills will get a +5 bonus. I forget exactly what it is, but it's something along those lines. So you get to choose 10 skills actually of, you know, some amount of importance, as opposed to the 7 that you get in Oblivion. Now the skills you choose, again, are going to depend heavily on what your build is. I do have some skills that I usually choose regardless of my build, and those are going to be things like acrobatics, athletics. I feel like that's almost pretty much it. I always do athletics and acrobatics. Surprisingly, I'll do alchemy, which we'll tackle that later. I'll explain why we choose alchemy. In fact, that'll probably be its own video, alchemy. But basically, alchemy is one of the best skills for gaining character levels. So it's just a really, really useful one to have on hand as a major or minor skill. Usually a minor skill though. So athletics, alchemy, acrobatics, and then like, again, kind of depending on what you're doing, maybe like security or sneak. But we're gonna be choosing the major skills first. And generally you're gonna want your major skills to be like your specialty skills. So like if you're a warrior, like a melee warrior, you're gonna want like your armor and weapon skills as major skills, right? So I'm thinking Longblade, just because I usually choose Longblade if I'm doing a warrior class. Armorer is going to be another good one, but you don't necessarily have to make it a major skill or minor skill, in my opinion. And then we're going to get to the armor here, because the armor is going to be another thing that's hugely different between Morrowind and Oblivion as well as Skyrim. So in Oblivion and Skyrim, you have your heavy armor and you have your light armor, which is pretty simple and straightforward. In Morrowind, however, you have your heavy armor, you have your light armor, but then you also have medium armor. Now, obviously, the differences between the light armor and the heavy armor are like pretty obvious. The heavy armor is generally going to be better earlier on in the game, and then it's also just like really heavy and unwieldy, of course. It's going to start out better early on in the game, and then it's going to like keep getting better, obviously. The light armor, in my opinion, starts off pretty damn weak, but then gets like about as good as Daedric by the end of the game. Like once you get to glass armor, you've got about as much armor rating as Daedric does. So it's like, kind of just depends on what you want. You can either have the benefits of lighter weight armor early on in the game, and then just like wait until the end of the game basically to get your strong armor. Or if armor is important to you, you can get the good armor early on in the game with heavy armor, but then just be okay with the fact that your armor is going to keep getting heavier and heavier until you have like a 200-300 pound set of armor, right? So it's going to depend heavily on your build, heavily on your playstyle, and heavily on like what you want to do with the game really by the end of it. Generally speaking, I would recommend medium armor though, if you're a first-time player, because medium armor is just, it's a great middle ground really, is kind of my point here. Not only is it lighter than heavy armor, so it's not quite as unwieldy, but it actually starts out like reasonably strong. I would almost say that medium armor starts out stronger than the heavy armor and the light armor does, like as far as early game content goes. The only problem with medium armor is that there are not very many options. There's like, you could probably count on like one hand the amount of like full set options that you have for medium armor, and there's not really any end game equipment for medium armor. So like once you get past the middle of the game or so, you're gonna find that your armor is now pretty fucking weak, honestly, compared to all the other armor in the game and all the other enemies and stuff. Your medium armor is going to lose its effectiveness near the end of the game. It's really good if you're a beginner because you're gonna have the benefits of it early on when you're like really trying to learn the ropes of the game, and when you're probably gonna be struggling the most. And by the time you get to the end of the game, you're probably going to know enough to get past the fact that the medium armor is a little bit weak. And, you know, you might even like at that point be thinking like, okay, well now I know more about the game. I've kind of like thought a little bit more about how I would want my character to be built. You know, maybe I'm going to start a new character and play it from the beginning in a different way, right? Like, you know, like your first Morrowind playthrough doesn't even have to be a playthrough to the end. It could just be a playthrough of figuring out the game, really. So like that's kind of a reason why I recommend medium armor, because like who says you even have to get to the end of the game, right? Like maybe you get to end game and you realize that like your build isn't quite what you wanted, and so it doesn't really matter that your medium armor is weak, because you're probably going to end up starting a new character anyway, right? Anyways though, we're going to choose medium armor because I rambled about it for 5 minutes, so we might as well. And then we're going to see what else we should choose. If you are doing a melee build, you probably are going to want block. You're probably also going to want armor, because you're going to want to be able to repair your armor and weapons, which are going to be damaged a lot. After all that, we'll probably do athletics for a major skill, and then acrobatics will get the minor skill, and then we'll also throw alchemy on there because reasons I stated. So we have 3 left, and I'm thinking we'll probably do security and sneak, maybe? I don't know. Speechcraft is also a really good one that you're going to want. It's just going to make a lot of interactions in the game a lot easier. I'd have to look that up again, but I feel like I remember looking back or looking at it a while back, and it stated that mercantile was basically a broken skill that doesn't do anything. But speaking of looking things up, that brings me to another great point of, if you are new to this game, you're going to want the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages on hand like pretty much all the time. That should be pretty much regarded as your Bible for this game, or really any Elder Scrolls game. Make sure you stay away from the fandom website because it's goddamn near useless, but the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages is one of the most in-depth wikis I have ever seen, especially for a video game. Like, video game wikis can get pretty crazy, but like this one gets like crazy. This is a really, really, really in-depth wiki page. Like, if you need any information on anything in Morrowind, whether it's items, classes, skills, races, places, whatever, the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages is your best friend. That is your Bible And anything that you need in game, if you're trying to find like something for a quest or whatever, unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, that shit. If you are ever stuck or you ever need help, unofficial Elder Scrolls pages. Ignore the fandom every single time. Go to the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages. It will fucking save your life. Anyways, though, here we go.
Very good. The letter that
After 10 minutes, we
mentioned
finally
you
chose
were
our
born
skills.
Under a certain sign. And what would that be?
And then, of course, here we go. We choose the sign here. Now, if you've played Oblivion, of course, this is similar to Oblivion. You choose your sign at the beginning of the game. However, if you are one of those Skyrim kids, you may be a little bit confused right now. Because in Skyrim, these are the rocks that are all over the fucking place that you have to pray to or whatever. Instead of getting like the stupid like constellation rocks scattered around the world, what you get is a one-time choice of a star sign to be born under, which makes a lot more sense, honestly, like, duh. So it's worth noting that unlike Skyrim, these cannot be changed. They're permanent, but they do very, very similar things to the ones in Skyrim. Now, you're going to have, of course, stuff that helps different classes. You have stuff for mages, stuff for, thieves and stealthy people, stuff for warriors. There's only really a few that I recommend, period. And they also happen to be recommended for beginners as well. They're going to be the warrior. It just gives you a 10-point attack bonus, just straight up, period. No matter what weapon you're using, no matter what, you're always going to have a 10-point bonus to your attack. That means if your weapon is a 5 damage weapon, you're going to be doing 15 damage because of this. So pretty damn good one if you're being a warrior and you just want to do more damage and, not have to worry as much about killing people. But it does kind of lose its effectiveness later on in the game because after a while, 10 points extra isn't really all that much. You can get like 100 points extra by enchanting stuff. So it's like, meh. Another good one is the steed, for the same reason that I would choose speed as a favorite attribute. Having that speed bonus early on in the game, it really makes the game a whole lot less tedious. Probably the worst part about this game is how fucking slow you move at the beginning. So if that bothers you, steed is a very, very good option. It tends to be chosen by speedrunners too, because, obvious reasons. Other than that though, maybe like the mage or something, if you're doing a mage build. But I honestly don't really recommend much else other than that. If you're going for a super hardcore mage build, the Atronach is a really good one. That's the one, right? It makes it so your magic doesn't replenish over time, but it gives you such a huge magic bonus that it's like, it's worth it if you're trying to be a super crazy powerful mage, because those super crazy powerful mage spells use a lot of magicka. So having that huge magicka bonus from the beginning definitely helps if you want to be a mage, but if you're a beginner, definitely not for you. So really, I recommend like two basically, either the warrior or the steed essentially. And I guess if you're gonna be a mage, choose the mage, right? So anyway, I think we're gonna do the steed just because I do like that speed bonus, honestly. All right, everything looks good. All right, so here you can see the major skills and minor skills. You see the minor skills all start at 15. I believe these all start at 30. And then you get your 5 or 10 bonus on them, right? But anyways, you're going to notice here that your miscellaneous skills start out really, really, really low. One thing to point out here is that your short blade skill starts out at 15 if you don't choose it as a major skill, which is going to make more sense later. But keep that in mind, that your minor skills start out very, very low. You are not talented at all in your miscellaneous skills. I think I might have called them minor skills on accident, but your miscellaneous skills. Do not rely on your miscellaneous skills for anything because they will be useless. Anyways, we accept that. And here's your release identification. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick this up. And this is where things start getting pretty damn meta. Because in the beginning of the game, you are not released as a citizen of Morrowind yet until you give your papers to the person in the next building over there, right? Since you are not a citizen of Morrowind yet, it means that if you get in trouble with the law, they cannot process you as a criminal yet, which has some really, really strange implications for the game. So once you are able to start, picking things up after you pick this up off the table, you can start picking up anything, right? Now I want to throw this out. If you're playing on console, it's going to be more difficult because you have to grab and then go to your menu. But if you are on PC, you can grab stuff from your menu, which makes this super easy. But essentially, what you do is at the beginning of the game, since you can't actually get arrested for your crimes, what you can do is steal stuff and then immediately go into your menu and then drop it on the ground. And when the guard comes to talk to you, he will just kind of be like, hey dude, don't do that again. But since you've already picked it up and dropped it, it won't count as stealing if you pick it up a second time. So let me show you what I mean. So if we're on Xbox, we would grab this and then click this. But since we're on PC, we can just do this and then click here. But we're not going to put it in our inventory. What we're going to do is we're just going to set it back down. And you'll notice that the guard comes. He says, what are you doing? We'll let your actions go for now. But once you're released, stuff like that will get you arrested again. Goodbye. So crimes forgiven. He doesn't really seem to care. But watch this. I can pick it up again with no repercussions. And the reason we picked this up is because the limeware platter has a value of 650, which is absolutely huge for somebody who's just starting the game. You're not really going to find too many fucking items in Seyda Neen that are worth 650 gold, so it's a pretty good one to keep. Now, much like the limeware platter, what we're going to do is we're going to be taking everything that isn't tied down, essentially. But before we do that, there is one other item that we're going to go grab. And before I think we can... Oh, it does let us leave without grabbing the knife. I kind of thought we had to grab the knife. So anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to grab the ring from the barrel because it makes us do that before we go in here. I don't really know why. I think it's just to, like, introduce you to magic. Really weird way of doing it. Now, again, this works for anything. Now, once you talk to this guy and give him your papers, this won't work. So you have to do this before you talk to him. But much like the limeware platter, what we're going to do, and you want to make sure you drop the limeware platter before you do this, because if you have any stolen items in your inventory when you get yelled at by a guard, they will take everything stolen from your inventory and you won't be able to get it back. So if it's stolen, even if it's not stolen, just drop it just in case. But what we're looking for specifically is this warehouse key here, which I'll probably have to show you guys in the next video because I think we're only really going to have enough time for this whole character creation process in this first video. So anyways, he does the whole thing again. I kind of want these candlesticks too because they are actually worth a fair bit of gold.
You've made your last mistake, thief.
And you know, I think we'll do the silver plates too. Why not?
You've made your last mistake, thief.
All right, so got those. Got those. We got the warehouse key. And now we can go back in here and start taking everything that isn't tied down, right? We're going to take the iron dagger. And again, this ties into like the whole, remember my short blade skill is 15. And we'll get back to this. Don't worry. We still have that dagger. We'll probably get to it in the next video, the explanation of the whole dagger thing and the short blade skill. But it is extremely, extremely important to remember what your miscellaneous skills are and how useless they are. This will all make sense in the next video, I promise. Anyways, though, quite literally, we're just taking every single thing here. And don't forget there's a room down here, too. Don't forget that. If it ain't tied down, take it. Except for this bucket, it's not really worth it for the 5 pounds. You get, like, 2 gold. Fuck that. Last but not least, we have this small chest. Oh, and also, don't forget that your lockpick isn't a weapon. That seems to be a somewhat actually common newbie mistake. Is people will forget they have their lockpick in their hand, and they'll be literally trying to kill something, and it's just straight up not working because it's not a weapon. Yeah, your lockpick isn't a weapon. You can't kill anything with it. Once you've gotten everything that isn't tied down, you're going to talk to Celes Gravius, give him your release identification, and then you're going to click Morrowind, click Duties, and he's going to tell you to go to Caius Casades and deliver him a package, right? This is where things kind of get pretty important in the game. Now, I feel like most people who play the game don't really take the time to read a lot of the stuff and like really like acknowledge and comprehend what they're reading. And I want it to be very clear that the first thing that they tell you to do in this game is to take the package to Caius Casades in the town of Balmora. He gives you money for the Stilt Strider. He says, get your ass to Balmora. He says, go to the South Wall Corner Club and ask for Caius Casades. They'll know where to find him. Serve him as you would serve the Emperor himself. I also have a letter for you, and a disbursal to your name. The disbursal being the 87 gold he gives you, which should help you get to Balmora and find Caius Casades. But I do want to reiterate the fact that the first thing the game tells you to do is this, and most people don't do that as the first thing. A lot of people, first thing they will do is like, let's go kill some stuff. And then they die, and they get mad, and they quit, and they don't play again. Which, again, we'll be getting to that part in the next video. But before we end this video, I do want to finish the whole everything that's not tied down portion of this whole strategy here. So basically, that warehouse key that we stole is the key to this place, which is the Census and Excise warehouse, which happens to be the home of... There's one guard actually patrolling, by the way, you have to watch out for. He starts up there, kind of wanders down here, and you want to make sure that he doesn't see you steal stuff, because stealing is illegal, right? But basically, this place is full of all sorts of guard equipment, you know, weapons, armor, moon sugar for some reason, some ingredients here and there. But this is actually like a pretty fucking solid place to get geared up, or just to steal some stuff for some extra money or whatever, right? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna steal some stuff for some extra money. Now things like hound meat, 2 pounds each for 1 gold is not too great, so we'll probably skip that. And those are both pretty ham too. Well, the iron saber is pretty good actually. We might just keep that. We'll probably skip the mace though. I know, take everything that isn't tied down, but be picky as fuck about it, right? Oof, yeah, not gonna be able to carry those. I think that's close to everything though, as far as the crazy armor goes. And up here, I think we got some stuff too, yeah. Oh, that's a medium coif. We can use that. So you'll see I'm over encumbered. So what I'm gonna do for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna enable. Really, I would have sworn that God mode did that, but apparently not. Well, what is my strength? 50. Yeah, I know, we're using cheats already. We just got into this fucking playthrough and we're using cheats. So we're just gonna be doing this for the sake of the video, so that I don't have to make 2 trips. Since your strength is low at the beginning of the game, you are gonna have to make 2 trips here if you want to get all this stuff. I'm probably gonna skip the arrows because they're 1 value each. And you have to sell them 1 by 1, by the way, if you want to get 1 gold each for them. So yeah, we're literally just going to skip those. But anyways, we're going to take everything here. You're going to want to skip the skooma and the moon sugar, because people just straight up won't talk to you and like won't do business with you if you're carrying moon sugar or skooma. They'll be like, oh, you're a drug addict, fuck off. So generally speaking, you don't really want to be carrying moon sugar or skooma because people kind of just frown upon it. Anyways, once we've gotten everything that isn't tied down, the last thing that you're going to want to do before you sell this stuff is talk to Fargoth. Now, that ring you found in the barrel belongs to Fargoth, and if you give him the ring, he will put in a good word for you at the owner of the Arile's trade house, Arile. So you say, yes, I found it, here, take it. Your disposition with him rises, but your disposition with the shop owner also rises, which is hugely important because it gives you much, much better deals on things that you buy and sell within the shop. So before you buy or sell anything in Seyda Neen, make sure you give the ring to Fargoth, because it actually makes a massive, massive difference. We're going to sell all this stuff. Now, when you sell stuff, it's very important that if you have multiple of an item, like if you have a stack of 26 or something of an item, you're going to want to sell it all 1 by 1. Let me show you what I mean. Now, I have the stack of 30 cruel viper stars. If I were to shift click and sell 30 of them as a stack, he's going to offer me 250 gold for these, which are 15 value each, and there's 30 of them. So that doesn't quite add up, right? Now, if we were to do this 1 by 1, by holding control, if you're on Xbox, it's going to be a pain in the ass, by the way. Wow. For the first time ever, it's actually worth less selling it 1 by 1. That's remarkable. I've never had that happen before. I guess it only really works for things that are worth 1 gold. Let me try to find something that is worth 1 gold. So here we go. These bottles, 6 of them. All right, it's Plock from the future here. So initially I was confused about this, but what I realized later is that it actually shows total cost, not amount sold. So it went from 14 to 11, which means that the 6 bottles only sold for 3 gold. Whereas if I would have sold them 1 by 1, I would have gotten the full 6 gold for them, because I would have gotten the 1 gold each for all 6. Anyways, though, so now that we're here, we're going to sell everything. We're going to, well, we'll keep the iron dagger too, because that's right. We're going to do a little bit of a demonstration with that. But anyways, if you're not going to use it, if it's not something that's useful to you, just sell it. But one thing that is important is you'll notice there's a seller gold and the total sold. You're not going to want to, you know, undersell yourself, obviously. Once it reaches the max, you're going to want to, like, you know, stop and sell it and then sleep for a day or whatever. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to sleep for 24 hours. And he should have all his money back. Do the limeware platter now. All right, so there we go. I wonder if I can bust out another 20. Oh, no. Can I bust out another 10? Okay, cool. Anyways, now that I've bought a bunch of stuff, I'm going to see what he has in terms of stuff I can actually wear. Oh, so here's another medium armor. I don't think he's going to have any pantaloons that are medium armor. But medium armor you're going to really find in Balmora. So you'll get that once you get to Balmora. It's fine. As far as swords go, though, am I sure there's nothing better? I think Iron Saber is as good as it gets until you hit Balmora. So anyways, that's going to be a pretty good start to the game. We've got the character creation out of the way, and we've got some decent money making and equipment setup going on as well. So I think we're at a pretty dang good place for the end of the first video here. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoy the series. If you do, make sure to leave a like. It definitely helps me out. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to this channel if you want to check out any more of this content or any of my other gaming content for that matter. And for as little as 99 cents a month, you become a channel member, help support this channel monetarily, help me pay some bills around here, that sort of thing. With all that being said, this has been Plock the Master Gamer with some Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.